Hi, our population is booming and this is going to have a significant impact on our property markets. Now, figures recently released by the Australian Bureau of Statistics showed that Australia's population grew by 2.1% to 21,799,000 people in the 12 months just finished in March. Now, to provide some perspective, in raw numbers, Australia's population growth has never been as high. In percentage terms, this level of growth has not been seen since the baby boom of the 1960s. But even more significant was the federal government's upgraded population forecasts, suggesting that our country's population is expected to grow by 65% to over 35 million people by 2049, in 40 years. Now, this is around 7 million more people than it estimated 2 years ago, and as population growth is one of the main drivers of our property markets, because it creates demand for housing, this is going to have a significant impact on our property markets. So in this market update, I'd like to have a look at who's going to be the winners. If you think about it, we currently have a population of just under 22 million people, and this is going to grow by another 13 million people over the next 40 years. And this is going to be due to higher birth rates and increased immigration. This is going to echo Australia's period of high growth in the 1950s and 60s, when a large number of people were encouraged to emigrate to Australia and birth rates were high. Back then the catch cry was populate or perish. The government recognised that for Australia's economy to be more sound, to be stable, to be self-sufficient, it had to import workers. And that's exactly what it did, and our economy flourished and our property markets boomed back then, and we're in for much of the same in the years ahead. More people are going to mean more consumers, which means more demand for Australian goods and services. This plus our burgeoning mining industry will mean a stronger and healthier economy. And that's great. But there are going to be problems associated with this rapid growth. For example, where are we going to house all these people? You see, the higher the population growth, the more homes we need to build. And currently we have an undersupply of properties, as too few new dwellings are being constructed to provide homes for our growing population. And this undersupply is only going to get worse. While this shortage of housing will most likely lead to the creation of new cities in areas that are probably now considered regional, the growth will overwhelmingly be concentrated in areas around our capital cities. And this is going to put considerable upward pressure on housing prices and on the rental markets. You see, currently about 70% of Australians live in or around our major capital cities, and it's likely to increase to closer to 80% in the future. Right now, 1 in 6 Australians is living in Melbourne and 1 in 5 in Sydney. Now, if we have a doubling in the size of our major cities, this is going to create a property boom of untold proportions. You see, about 40% of the dwellings that are going to be around in 20 years' time, in about 2030, haven't even been built yet. This growth is going to underpin our property markets and will ensure property values keep rising like they have in the last 100 years or so, I guess. But unlike the United States or the United Kingdom, or even Europe, where people live in hundreds of cities around these countries, the fact that the vast majority of Australians live in one of 8 major population centres means the forces of supply and demand will keep property values increasing. And this is going to lead to an ongoing affordability pressure for first-home buyers, lower vacancy rates and higher rents. And there's going to be an increasing gap between those who can afford to live in our capital cities and those who can't. Just like there is in most large modern cities. Of course, this is one of the reasons I advocate buying well-located properties in the inner and middle ring suburbs of our capital cities, and I'm suggesting you use them as long-term investments. Now, of course, this tremendous growth will also create enormous strain on our cities' infrastructures, especially in the areas of transport, roads and water. But setting aside these challenges, there's going to be some amazing opportunities. This population boom is great news for property investors and for businesses. Population growth is a strong driver of economic activity. And apart from property owners, anyone in healthcare, medicine, financial planning and construction related industries should really prosper. And of course, over the next 40 years, we're also going to see a few more recessions and probably one depression. So it won't all be smooth sailing. But it does mean that those who predicted Australia's property markets are going to collapse and property values will fall will once again be proven wrong. As our property market moves on, I'll be keeping up to date with my thoughts in these regular market commentaries. But if you're an experienced investor or a well-read beginner, then I'd like to invite you to attend my 3-day real-world real estate workshop. I'd like you to spend 3 days with me on October the 23rd, 24th and 25th. You see, this is Australia's longest running advanced property workshop and comes with my personal guarantee and a 7-year pedigree. And I've put together the best faculty of property experts in Australia. Real-world people who've achieved real-world results. And in this small classroom environment, we undertake to answer all your personal questions personally. Plus, we're going to show you the fundamentals of property renovations and property development. So please click on the link below to find out more and reserve your place and secure one of the few early bird specials that are left. I only hold this event once a year and it's sold out every year, and this year's not going to be any difference. You see, I've put together the best lineup of property, tax, finance, legal and property development specialists ever assembled in Australia. And you're going to have access to them. There'll be one-on-one time because most are going to be staying for the whole 3 days to answer your personal questions. Now, of course, this advanced training isn't for everybody, but if you've been promising yourself that one day you'd join us, please make this the year. Remember, 2010 is going to be a boom year, and we want you to get the most out of it. It would really be a shame to have gone through the pain that many of us have gone through in the last 18 months without taking advantage of the opportunities that come out of a downturn. So let me show you how. Please click on the link below and get all the details and reserve your place. In the meantime, I'm going to keep you updated with the changes happening in our property markets in future editions of Property Update that comes out once a fortnight. But it's probably appropriate to remind you that in changing times like we're experiencing, no one can help you quite like the independent property investment strategists at Metropole. Remember, we've got no properties for sale, but access to every property on the market. If you want to find out a bit more about what's happening in your local market and what our research suggests is in store for us, join us at a free property briefing in our boardroom in our offices in Melbourne, Sydney or Brisbane. Just click on the link down below to find out and reserve your own place. Now, obviously my 3-day real estate workshop will be much more comprehensive than these boardroom briefings, but they're a great place to start and they're free. So click on the link below and join us at our offices. I look forward to bringing you another property update in 2 weeks' time.